Today we're looking at the strongest Astra Militarum lists in 9th edition 40k, with an overview of 3 tournament lists that have performed pretty well. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy focused 40k channel, where we're all about getting the most out of our miniatures on the tabletop. Today we're focusing on the Astra Militarum once more, and seeing what lists and unit combos are doing best for the faction. I'm not going to lie, guard dudes seem to be struggling a little bit in terms of tournament performance in 9th. Some increasing points costs on infantry squads and Lehman Russes certainly haven't helped. The army tends to give away killing secondary objectives relatively easily, and the format of the game rewarding pushing forward and holding the centre of the table isn't all the best with an army that doesn't have all that much dedicated melee. Nevertheless, some players have been still managing to do very well with them, so today I thought we'd look at 3 lists, 2 of which have won small local tournaments, and 1 of which has placed quite well at a big GT. So first of all, I thought we'd start with this one. It's recorded under Best Coast Pairings by a player named John Masson, who managed to win a 12-player RTT with it, so well done for that. The list is organised into a battalion and a patrol detachment, taking the Gunnery Experts and Spotter Details combo, which you'll notice is a recurring theme in these lists. Gunnery Experts is a very good damage dealing choice, allowing you to re-roll the number of shots for any D6 shot weapons, so it's really solid on things like Demolisher tanks, Manticores and Heavy Flamers. Spotter Details is basically the upgrade for the Demolisher cannons in these lists, giving them a 30-inch range rather than 24, really amping up the threat range of the much-feared Demolisher tank commander. I think this list just organises a lot of the most powerful guard units really well into a couple of detachments. Probably the biggest bit that it breaks from the mould is taking a couple of Hellhounds. To start with, it has a trio of tank commanders armed with a Demolisher cannon and a las cannon, which again will be a bit of a recurring theme. Demolisher cannons are just by far the most efficient anti-tank in the entire codex, and it makes sense to take a whole las cannon now, just because heavy bolters are currently overcosted until they acquire that damage 2 upgrade. If they get first turn and range on enemy heavies, then they'll chew through them really efficiently, and can potentially use that Hail of Fire stratagem to automatically get 12 shots against 1 enemy vehicle. Marching up the centre of the board to beat down enemy threats and to take midfield objectives, there's a big unit of 8 Bulgrin. This one has 4 slab shields and 4 brute shields on it, and it's backed up with an Astropath with Psychic Barrier. Bulgrin got some fairly favourable points changes going into 9th edition, and they were pretty good already. And by combining the Astropath and the Take Cover stratagem, you can have the slab shields saving on 2s even against AP-2 shots, and the brute shields saving on 3s against anything with very high AP. Those damage 2 Moors aren't too bad with dealing with things like Primaris Marines as well. There's a hefty contingent of infantry with this list, which can be advancing alongside, securing objectives and performing actions. There's 60 infantrymen. None of the squads take any special weapons or upgrades at all. I don't think their primary role is as damage dealers, just to act as screens and maybe use move to jump across the board and steal objectives. To order them about, there are 2 company commanders, one of which is the Warlord with Old Grudges. Good for some powerful re-rolls against any one unit that you really want to take out turn 1, could be helpful with the Demolishers or the Manticore, and the other company commander bears the Cure of Zaquilla just for a little bit of command point farming. To advance into the midfield and deal some damage to light infantry, there are 4 Chimera chassis vehicles armed with flamers, 2 Chimeras with double heavy flamers on, presumably acting as transport for a couple of the infantry squads, and 2 Hellhounds with hull heavy flamers, all of them basically guaranteed to keep on doing damage dealing until they're destroyed, whether or not the enemy decides to lock them up in close combat. Finally, in heavy support for some very decent ignores line of sight shooting, there's a Manticore with a heavy bolter, and it's got the full payload upgrades for one of the tank ace traits, which can be bought in for 1 command point. The Manticore is a really solid choice with this upgrade at the moment. Damage 3 will chew through vehicles or Gravis armoured infantry with ease. There's certainly a reason that one has been included in every single one of these tournament lists. Overall, the list looks very solid indeed, puts a very decent amount of wounds of vehicles on the table, and the Bulgrin aren't really going to die to any small arms either. Certainly looks like a good example of a solid all-round guard list for 9th edition. The next list that I wanted to look at was a list by Liam Hackett, who managed to claim 6th place at Brisbane GT, a 39-player event I believe, and the list came from Down Under Pairings. This list is organised into 2 battalions, one with Gunnery Experts and Spotter Details, and also, most interestingly, a Valhallan Infantry Battalion. Talking about the most common stuff first, we have the 3 tank commanders with Demolisher Cannon and las cannon again, and this time we have not 1 but 2 Manticores, both with the full payload upgrade, this time 1 from a stratagem and 1 instead of a Warlord trait. To fill out that battalion, we have 4 squads of Barebones Scions, armed with only hotshot lasguns. They're not going to do all that much damage to most targets, but with innate built-in deep strike, they're just the sort of units that you want to be dropping all over the board to secure objectives and to complete any secondaries that you might have, such as engage on all fronts or deploying scramblers. In the other battalion we have over 100 infantry models. There are no less than 3 company commanders. One is technically the warlord and he has the laurels of command. Not a bad option for a free relic that allows you to give a few more orders. Again we have 6 bare bones infantry squads, no special weapons or upgrades whatsoever for dealing damage, they're purely meant for objective scoring and screening. A nice little formation of 3 company command squads, each armed with 4 plasma guns, which I suspect will be put into strategic reserve, maybe alongside one of the officers, to just jump in from the side of the map and hopefully deal a whole load of plasma death to some unsuspecting space marines. There's a couple of squads of mortars providing a little bit more ignores line of sight shooting from the back and maybe holding down home field objectives. But the bit that I found most interesting out of the list were 3 squads of veterans armed with shotguns and 3 flamers in each squad. Now I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure how these ones are used. They're clearly built to be very good at killing enemy light infantry at close range, and I suspect that they could either be used as sort of a counter-attack force in your own deployment zone, and could potentially use that Valhallan fire on my command order to shoot into ongoing combats. In any case, they'll certainly discourage enemies from putting light infantry too close to the main guard battle line, and could have some potentially decent overwatch if they needed to as well. In any case, really quite a cool and different list, and it's certainly a very solid performance getting 6th at quite a big event like that. Finally, the third list that I wanted to showcase really goes very heavy on the mechanized infantry theme, putting no less than 12 armoured hulls down on the table. This list was run by Curtis Hosseling and gained first place at a 12-player RTT. Again, this list has the tried and tested gunnery experts and spotter details battalion, though this one chooses to back it up with Acadian Patrol to ally in Knight Commander Pask. Tank commander wise, we have the 2 standard ones with Demolisher cannons and las cannon, and Pask himself is also equipped in that exact same way. But the third one provides a bit of a variation, with a tank commander with a Punisher cannon, las cannon and the weapons expert tank ace upgrade, and this one gives that mighty Punisher cannon AP-1, turning it into a far more of a generalist weapon rather than a specialist at dealing with light infantry. Again, the Punisher cannon will be very thankful for spotter details as well, to reach out and cut down whatever enemy infantry unit gets in its sights. From there we have 6 infantry squads, 5 in the gunnery experts battalion and 1 in the Acadian battalion, and every single one of these are mounted in chimeras, the gunnery experts ones with double heavy flamers, and the one in the Acadian patrol with a multi-laser and heavy flamer, which I suspect was different only just to save a few points. That sheer amount of armour and infantry is going to be really problematic for the opponent to remove from midfield objectives, and again those close range heavy flamers can deal some decent damage to any enemy infantry that are nearby, particularly ones that tie them up in close combat. That's very nearly the entire list. The only bits that are left are Lehman Russ with a battle cannon and las cannon. It probably won't be top of the enemy's priority to shoot, so should hopefully be able to deal some reliable damage all game long, and there's also a Manticore with full payload as well, as that thing seems to be very much an auto-include in every single successful guard tournament list. In any case, it's pretty cool to see an entirely mechanised guard list doing well. It certainly wasn't the most common sight ever in 8th edition. So overall, in terms of common themes, it looks like tank commanders with demolishers and las cannons are very much in, as are Manticores with full payload, and every list has at least 6 infantry squads to take objectives with, and none of them bothered with any special weapons, despite very cheap plasma guns and melter guns now being available. Close range flame tanks seem very viable for guard for taking objectives at the moment, and from there you can fill out the list in all sorts of different ways, and add things like Bullgryns, Scions, outflanking plasma, or maybe even more damage dealing tanks. It's certainly going to be interesting to see how guard lists adapt and overcome the challenges of 9th edition, and I'm sure things might change quite a lot with the dropping of new codexes and whenever the guard get their own. So let me know your thoughts on the lists down in the comments below. Are they in line with what sort of things you are finding strong in the guard at the moment? If you're enjoying the videos at the moment, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. We'll have plenty more Astra Militarum content coming as we progress through 9th edition. Finally, if you'd like to help support the channel, I'd just like to mention that I have a Patreon page which is down in the video description below. Making all of these videos does take quite a bit of time, so if you are enjoying then any support is massively appreciated. Channel Patrons get to see a video early each week as well. There's regular votes and polls as to what sort of things happen next on the channel, and you also get automatically entered into the Auspex Tactics prize giveaway each month with the chance to win some big model kits. If any of that sounds good or you'd just like to help support, then the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.